ये है चैप्टर इवोल्यूशन, लेकिन इससे पहले इसका है जो कुछ शॉर्ट नोट्स देख लेते हैं। तो इसके शॉर्ट नोट्स में है कि ऑन्टोजेनी रिकैपिचुलेट फाइलोजेनी, ये बायोजेनिक लॉ है जो कि हेक्कल ने दिया था। ग्लाइसिन, एलानिन और एस्पार्टिक एसिड है जो मिला था उस सूप में। और फिर होमोलोगस ऑर्गन्स में आता है वॉल्यूम्स ऑफ द मैन, चीता, वेल एंड द बैट, माउथ पार्ट ऑफ द कॉकरोच, हनी बी, मॉस्किटो एंड बटरफ्लाई, और थॉर्न एंड द टेंडेंस ऑफ द बोगनविला एंड द कुकुरबिटा। फिर आता है एनालॉगस, तो एनालॉगस में आता है विंग्स ऑफ द बटरफ्लाई एंड द बर्ड्स, pectoral fin of the sharks and the flippers of the dolphin, a sting of the honeybee and the scorpion, eye of the octopus and the eye of the mammals। और sweet potato रूट मॉडिफिकेशन, पोटैटो है जो स्टेम मॉडिफिकेशन है। इसके बाद फिर टस्मानियन वोल्फ, टाइगर कैट, बैंडेड एंटीटर, मार्सुपियल मोल, कंगारू, बॉम्बैट, बैंडिकट और कोयला। ये आता है मार्सुपियल मोल और फिर सोल ग्लाइडर, इतना आता है। टस्मानियन वोल्फ, टाइगर कैट, बैंडेड एंटीटर, टस्मानियन वोल्फ, टाइगर कैट, बैंडेड एंटीटर, मार्सुपियल मोल, कंगारू, बॉम्बैट, बैंडिकट, कोयला, फिर मार्सुपियल मोल और सुअर ग्लाइडर इधर फिर आता है। फिर सिकल सेल एनीमिया स्टेबलाइजिंग है। सिकल सेल एनीमिया स्टेबलाइजिंग का एग्जाम्पल है इंडस्ट्रियल मिलानिज्म प्लस पेस्टिसाइड रेसिस्टेंट मॉस्किटो प्लस एंटीबायोटिक रेसिस्टेंट में से। इसका भी जो डायरेक्शनल का एग्जाम्पल है। म्यूटेशन जो है डिसरप्टिव का एग्जाम्पल है। ए बराबर होता है पी स्क्वायर, स्मॉल इज इक्वल टू होता है क्यू स्क्वायर, कैपिटल स्मॉल इज इक्वल टू होता है 2pq, और पी प्लस क्यू का होल स्क्वायर इज इक्वल टू होता है 1, और पी प्लस क्यू इज इक्वल टू होता है 1। इन दोनों से ही क्वेश्चन बन जाएंगे सारे। तो इवोल्यूशन का एनसीईआरटी अब देखते हैं। इसमें है एनसीईआरटी में इवोल्यूशन में देखेंगे ऑरिजिन ऑफ द लाइफ, इवोल्यूशन ऑफ द लाइफ फॉर्म्स, ए थ्योरी, व्हाट आर द एविडेंस फॉर द इवोल्यूशन, व्हाट इज द एडाप्टिव रेडिएशन, बायोलॉजिकल इवोल्यूशन, मैकेनिज्म ऑफ द इवोल्यूशन, हार्डी-वेनबर्ग प्रिंसिपल, ए ब्रीफ अकाउंट ऑफ द इवोल्यूशन, ऑरिजिन एंड द इवोल्यूशन ऑफ द मैन। तो सबसे पहले इसमें देखेंगे कि Evolutionary biology is the study of the history of the life forms on the earth. What exactly is evolution? To understand the changes in the flora and the fauna that have occurred over millions of years on the earth, we must have an understanding of the context of the origin of the life, evolution of earth, of stars, and indeed of the universe itself. But follow is the longest of all constructed and the conjectured story. This is the story of the origin of the life and evolution of the life forms called biodiversity on the planet earth in the context of the evolutions of the earth and against the background of the evolutions of the universe itself. Origin of the life. So when we look at the stars on a clear night sky, we are in a way looking back in the time. Stellar distances are measured in the light years. What we see today is an object which emitted light started its journey millions of years back and from trillions of the years kilometers away and reaching our eyes now. However, when we see objects in our immediate surrounding, we see them instantly and hence in the present time. Therefore, when we see stars, we apparently are peeping into the past. The origin of the life is considered a unique event in the history of the universe. The universe is vast, relatively speaking. The Earth itself is only a speck. The universe is very old, almost 20 billion years old. Huge clusters of the galaxy comprise the universe. Galaxy contain the stars and the clouds of the gas and the dust. Concerning the size of the universe, Earth is indeed a speck. The Big Bang theory attempts to explain as to the origin of the universe. It talks of the singular huge explosion, unimaginable in the physical terms. The universe expanded and hence the temperature came down. Hydrogen and the helium formed sometimes later. The gases condensed under the gravitation and formed the galaxies of the present universe. In the solar system of the Milky Way galaxy, Earth was supposed to have been formed about 4.5 billion years back. There was no atmosphere on the early Earth. Water vapor, methane, carbon dioxide, and ammonia released from the molten mass covered the surface. The UV rays from the sun broke up water into the hydrogen and oxygen, and the latter H2 escaped. Oxygen combined with the ammonia and the methane to form the water, CO2 and the other. The ozone layer was formed. As it cooled, the water vapor fell as rain to fill up the depression and form the oceans. Life appeared 500 million years after the formation of the Earth, almost 4 billion years back. Did life come from the outer space? Some scientists believe that it came from the outside. Early Greek thinkers thought units of the life called the spore were transferred to the different planets, including the Earth. Panspermia is still a favorite idea for some astronomers. For a long time, it was also believed that life came out of a decaying and rotting matter like the straw, mud, etc. This was the theory of the spontaneous generation. Louis Pasteur, by careful experimentation, demonstrated that life came only from the pre-existing life. He showed that in the pre-Israelite flask, life did not come from the killed east, while in the another flask open to the air, new living organism arose from the killed east. A spontaneous generation theory by dismissed once and for all. However, this did not answer the How the first life form came on the earth. Oparin of the Russia and Handel of England proposed that the first form of the life could have come from the pre-existing non-living organic molecule, example RNA, protein, etc., and that the formation of the life was preceded by the chemical evolution. Formations of the diverse organic molecule from the inorganic constituents, the conditions of the earth were high temperature, volcanic storms, reducing atmospheric containing CH4, NH3, etc. In the 1953, F. L. Miller, an American scientist, created similar condition in the laboratory scale. He created electric discharge in a closed flask containing the CH4, H2, NH3, and water vapor at 8 degrees Celsius. He observed formations of the amino acid in the similar experiment. Others observed formations of the sugar, nitrogen base, pigment, and the fat. Analysis of the meteorite content also revealed similar compounds, indicating that similar processes are occurring elsewhere in the space. With this limited evidence, the first part of the conjectured story, that means the chemical evolution, was more or less accepted. We have no idea about how the first self-liberating metabolic capsule of life arose. The first non-cellular forms of the life could have originated 3 billion years back. They would have been giant molecule RNA protein polysaccharide, etc. These capsules reproduced their molecule. Perhaps the first cellular form of the life did not possibly originate till about 2000 million years ago. They were probably the single cell. All life forms were in the beta environment only. This version of the biogenesis, that means the first form of the life arose slowly through the evolutionary process from the non-living molecule, is accepted by the majority. However, once formed, how the first cellular forms of the life could have evolved into the complex biodiversity of the today is the fascinating story that we'll discuss later. तो यहाँ पर दिखाया हुआ है डायग्रामेटिक रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ द मिलर्स एक्सपेरिमेंट, जिसमें बॉइलिंग वाटर दिखाया हुआ है, फिर वैक्यूम पंप और CH4 हो गया, NH3 हो गया, H2 हो गया और H2 हो गया, मीथेन है, अमोनिया है, वाटर है और हाइड्रोजन है। फिर इलेक्ट्रोड्स दिखाए हुए और स्पार्क डिस्चार्ज, वाटर आउट, कंडेंसर, वाटर इन, फिर वाटर ड्रॉपलेट्स, वाटर कंटेनिंग ऑर्गेनिक कंपाउंड्स दिखाए हुए। यहाँ पर लिक्विड वाटर इन ए ट्रैप दिखाए हुए। फिर आता है evolutions of the life forms, a theory. So conventional religious literature tells us about the theory of the special creation. This theory has three connotations. One, that all living organisms, species or types that we see today were created as such. Two, that the diversity was always the same since creation and will be the same in the future also. Three, that the earth is about 4,000 years old. All these ideas were strongly challenged during the 19th century. Based on the observation made during a sea voyage in a sail ship called HMS Beagle around the world, Charles Darwin concluded that existing living forms share similarities to the varying degree, not only among themselves but also with the life forms that existed millions of years ago. Many such life forms do not exist anymore. They had been extensions of the different life forms in the years gone by, just as new forms of life arose at a different periods of the history of the earth. There has been a gradual evolution of the life forms. Any population has built-in variation in the characteristic. Those variations will enable some to survive better in the natural condition, climate, food, physical factor, etc. would outbid others that are less indoor to the survive under such natural condition. Another word used is fitness of the individual or population. The fitness, according to Darwin, refers ultimately and only to the reproductive fitness. Hence, those who are better fit in the environment live more progeny than the others. These therefore will survive more and hence are selected by the nature. He called it natural selection and implied it as a mechanism of the evolution. Let us also remember that Alfred Wallace, a naturalist who worked in the Malay archipelago, had also come to similar conclusion around the same time. In due course of the time, apparently new types of the organism are recognizable. All existing life forms share similarity and share the common ancestor. However, these ancestors were present at different periods in the history of the earth, epochs, periods, and the eras. The geological history of the earth closely correlates with the biological history of the earth. A common permissible conclusion is that earth is very old, not thousands of years as by thought, but earlier billions of years old. Prata Bhatta, the evidence for the evolution, the evidence that evolutions of the life forms has indeed taken place on the earth has come from many quarters. Fossils are remains of the hard parts of the life forms found in the rock. Rock from the sediments and a cross sections of the earth crust indicate the arrangement of the sediment one over the other during the long history of the earth. Different age rock sediments contain the fossils of the different life forms who probably died during the formations of the particular sediment. Some of them appear similar to the modern organism. They represent extinct organism, dinosaur. A study of the fossil in a different sedimentary rock layer indicate the geological period in which they existed. The studies show that life forms varied over a time and certain life forms are restricted to the certain geological time span. Hence, new forms of the life have arisen at different times in the history of the earth. All this is called as paleontological evidence. Do you remember how the age of the fossils are calculated? Do you recollect the method of the radioactive dating and the principle behind the procedure? फिर आता है embryological support for the evolution was also proposed by the Ernest Haeckel based on the observations of the certain feature during the embryonic stage common to all the vertebrates that are absent in the adult. For example, the embryos of all the vertebrates, including human develop a row of the vestigial gill slit just behind the head, but is a functional organ only in the fish and not found in many other adult vertebrates. However, this proposal was disapproved by on careful study performed by the Carl Ernst von Baer. He noted that embryos never pass through the adult stage of the other animals. Comparative anatomy and the morphology show the similarities and the differences among the organisms of the today and those that existed years ago. तो यहाँ पर दिखाया हुआ है a family tree of the dinosaur and the living modern day counterpart organism like the crocodiles and the birds. तो यहाँ पर दिखाया हुआ है स्टीगोफोरस, फिर ट्राइसेराटॉप्स, आर्कोटेरिक्स, क्रोकोडिलियन और टिरानोडॉन। फिर यहाँ पर बैंकोफोरस और टायरानोफोरस का दिखाया हुआ है। फिर आता है कि सच सिमिलिटी कैन बी इंटरप्रेटेड टू अंडरस्टैंड whether common ancestor bear shared or not. For example, whales, bats, cheetah, and the humans, all mammals share similarity in their pattern of the bones of the forelimbs. Though these forelimbs perform different functions in the animals, they have similar anatomical structure. All of them have the humerus, radius, ulna, carpals, metacarpals, and the phalanges in their forelimbs. Hence, the animals the same structure developed along the different directions due to the different adaptation to different needs. This is divergent evolution, and these structures are homologous. Homology indicate common ancestry. Other examples are the vertebrates, heart, or the brains in plant. Also, the thorn and the tendons of the bougainvillea and cucurbita represent homology. Homology is based on the divergent evolution, whereas analogy refers to the situation exactly opposite. Wings of a butterfly and of the birds look alike. They are not anatomically similar structure, though they perform the similar function. Hence, the analogous structure are real as a convergent evolution, different structure involving for the same function and hence having the similarity. Other examples of the analogy are the eye of the octopus and the mammals of the flippers of the penguin and the dolphin. One can say that it is a similar habit that has resulted in the selections of the similar adaptive feature in the different groups of the organism, but toward the same function. Sweet potato and the root modification and the potato stem modification is another examples for the analogy. फिर आता है कि in the same line of the argument, similarities in the protein and the genes performing a given function among diverse organisms give clues to the common ancestry. The biochemical similarity point to the same shared ancestry as the structural similarity among the diverse organisms. Man has bred selected plants and animals for the agriculture, horticulture, sport, or the security. Man has domesticated many wild animals and the crops. This intensive breeding program has created breeds that differ from the other breeds, for example dogs, but still are the same group. It is argued that if within the hundreds of the years, man could create new breeds, could not nature have done in the same over the millions of the years. तो यहाँ पर दिखाए हुए है बॉगनविलिया, थॉर्न, कुकुरबिता, टेंड्रिल और मैन, चीता, व्हेल, बैट सबका एग्जाम्पल्स ऑफ द होमोलोगस ऑर्गन इन द बैट्स, प्लांट्स और एनिमल में। तो प्लांट्स में बॉगनविलिया, कुकुरबिता आता है और एनिमल्स में सबका है जो लिम्स आ जाते हैं। फिर आता है another interesting observation supporting the evolution by the natural selection comes from England. It in a collection of the moths made in the 1850s. Before industrialization set in, it was observed that there were more white-winged moths on the tree than dark-winged or midnight moth. However, in the collection carried out from the same area, but after industrialization in the 1920s, there were more dark-winged moths in the same area. That means the proportion was reversed. फिर यहाँ पर दिखाया हुआ है फिगर showing white winged moth and the dark winged moth melanide on a tree trunk in a polluted area or in a polluted area में है जो दिखाया हुआ है। तो the explanation put forth for this observation by that predators will spot a moth against a contrasting background. During the post-industrialization period, the tree trunks become dark due to the industrial smoke and the soot. Under this condition, the white-winged moth did not survive due to the predators. Dark-winged moth or malign moth survived. Before industrialization set in, thick growth of the almost white-colored lichen covered the tree. In that background, the white-winged moth survived, but the dark-winged color moth were picked out by the predators. Do you know that lichens can be used as an industrial pollution indicator? They will not grow in areas that are polluted. Hence, moths that were able to camouflage themselves, that means hide in the background, survived. This understanding is supported by the fact that in the area where industrialization did not occur, the example in the rural area, the count of the melanic moth was low. This shows that in the mixed population, those that can better adapt, survive, and increase in the population size. Remember, there are no variant completely wiped out. फिर आता है कि सिमिलरली एक्सेस यूज ऑफ द हेर्बिसाइड, पेस्टिसाइड एक्सेट्रा has only resulted in the fluctuations of the resistant variety in the much lesser time scale. This is also true for the microorganisms which we employ the antibiotics for the drugs against the eukaryotic organism you cell. Hence, the resistant organism cells are appearing on a time scale of the month or years and not century. These are the examples of the evolution by the anthropogenic action. This also tells us that evolution is not a directed process in the sense of the determinism. It is a stochastic process based on the chance event in the nature and chance mutation in the organism. तो ये सेंटेंस इम्पॉर्टेंट है। फिर आता है भाटी अडेप्टिव रेडिएशन। तो during his journey, Darwin went to the Galapagos Island. There he observed an amazing diversity of the creature. On particular interest, a small black birds, later called Darwin finches, amazed him. He realized that there were many varieties of the finches in the same island. All the varieties he conjectured evolved in the island itself. From the original seed-eating creature, many other forms with altered beaks arose, enabling them to become the insectivorous and the vegetarian finches. This process of the evolution of the different species in a given geographical area, starting from a point and literally radiating to the other areas of the geography habitat, is called the adaptive radiation. Darwin finch represents one of the best examples of the phenomena. Another example is the Australian marsupials. A number of the marsupials, each different from the other, evolved from an ancestral stock but all within the Australian island continent. When more than one adaptive radiation appeared to have occurred in an isolated geographical area, representing different habitats, one can call this convergent evolution. Placental mammals in Australia also exhibit the adaptive radiation involving into variety of the such placental mammals, each of which appears to be similar to a corresponding marsupial. Example placental wolf and the Tasmanian marsupial and the Tasmanian wolf marsupial. फिर यहाँ पर दिखाया हुआ है वेराइटी ऑफ द बिग्स ऑफ द फिंचेज दैट डार्विन फाउंड इन द गलापागोस आइलैंड। और फिर आता है अडेप्टिव रेडिएशंस ऑफ द मार्सुपियल्स ऑफ ऑस्ट्रेलिया का एग्जाम्पल। तो इसमें आता है टस्मानियन वॉल्फ, टाइगर कैट, बॉन्डेड एंटीटर, मार्सुपियल रैट, फिर कंगारू, बॉम्बेट, बांडीकोट कोयला, फिर मार्सुपियल मोल और सूअर ग्लाइडर आ जाता है। अब कुछ देखते हैं, इधर प्लेसेंटल मैमल दिए हुए, इधर ऑस्ट्रेलियन मार्सुपियल्स दिया हुआ है। इन दोनों में पिक्चर शोइंग द कन्वर्जेंट इवोल्यूशन ऑफ द ऑस्ट्रेलियन मार्सुपियल्स एंड द प्लेसेंटल मैमल्स। तो मोल इधर मार्सुपियल मोल, एंट ईटर इधर नम्बैट जो कि एंट ईटर नहीं होता है, फिर मॉफ्ट इधर मार्सुपियल मॉफ्ट, लिमर इधर स्पॉटेड कफकफ आता है लिमर के लिए, फ्लाइंग स्क्विरल तो इधर आता है फ्लाइंग फ्लेंजर, बॉब बैट का आता है टस्मानियन टाइगर कैट और बॉल्फ का आता है टस्मानियन बॉल्फ। अब आगे बात करते हैं बायोलॉजिकल इवोल्यूशन की। तो इवोल्यूशंस बाय नेचुरल सिलेक्शन इज ए ट्रू सेंस वुड हैव स्टार्टेड व्हेन सेलुलर फॉर्म्स ऑफ द लाइफ मेड डिफरेंस इन द मेटाबॉलिक कैपेबिलिटी originated on the earth. The sense of the Darwinian theory about evolution is the natural selection. The rate of the appearance of the new forms is linked to the life cycle or the life of man. Microbes that divide fast have the ability to multiply and become millions of the individuals within hours. A colony of the bacteria, say a growing on a given medium, has built-in variation in terms of the ability to utilize a feed component. A change in the medium composition would bring out only that part of the population, say B, that can survive under the new condition. In due course of the time, this variant population outgrow the other and appear as a new species. This would happen within a day. For the same thing to happen in a fish or the fowl would take millions of years, as the life spans of these animals are in the years. Hence, here we say that fitness of B is better than the A under the new condition. Nature selects for the fitness. One must remember that the so-called fitness is based on the characteristics which are inherited. Hence, there must be a genetic basis for getting selected and to evolve. Another way of saying the same thing is that some organisms are better adapted to the survive in otherwise hostile environment. Adaptive ability is inherited. It has a genetic basis. Fitness is the end result of the ability to adapt and get selected by the nature. फिर आता है ब्रांचिंग डिसेंट एंड द नेचुरल सिलेक्शन आर द टू की कंसेप्ट ऑफ द डार्विनियन थ्योरी ऑफ द इवोल्यूशन. Even before the Darwin, a French naturalist Lamarck had said that evolutions of the life forms had occurred but driven by the use and the disuse of the organs. He gave the examples of the giraffe, who is an attempt to forage the leaves on a tall tree, had to adapt by elongations of the neck. As they passed on this acquired characteristic of the elongated neck to the succeeding generation, giraffes slowly over the year came to the acquired long neck. Nobody believed this conjecture anymore. Is evolution a process or the result of the process? The world we see inanimate and the animate is the only success story of the evolution. When we describe the story of this world, we describe evolution as a process. On the other hand, when we describe the story of the life on earth, we treat evolution as a consequence of the process called natural selection. We are still not very clear whether to regard evolution and natural selection as the process or the end result of the unknown process. It is possible that the bulk of the Thomas Malthus on the population influenced Darwin. Natural selection is based on the certain observations which are factual. For example, nature's resources are limited, population are stable in the size except for the seasonal fluctuation. Members of the population vary in the characteristics. In fact, no two individuals are alike. Even though they look superficially similar, most of the variations are inherited, etc. The fact that a theoretically population size will grow exponentially if everybody reproduced maximally, this fact can be seen in the growing bacterial population, and the fact that population sizes in reality are limited means that there have been competition for the resources. Only some survived and grew at the cost of the others that could not fall this. The novelty and the brilliant insight of the Darwin by this, he asserted that variations which are inheritable and which make resources utilization better for few, adapted to the habitat better, will only enable those who to reproduce and leave more progeny. Hence, for a period of a time over many generations, survivors will leave more progeny and there would be a change in the population characteristic and hence new forms of the life to appear, to arise. Mechanism of the evolution. So what is the origin of this variation and how does association occur? Even though the Mendel had talked about the inheritable factors influencing the phenotype, Darwin either ignored these observations or kept silence. In the first decade of the 20th century, Hugo de Verage, based on his work on the evening primordial, brought forth about the idea of the mutation light difference arising suddenly in the population. He believed that if it is a mutation which caused the evolution and not the minor variation heritable that Darwin talked about. Mutations are random and directionless, but the Darwin's variation are small and the directional. Evolutions of the Darwin was gradual, while the DeVry believed mutation caused speciation and helps call it a false difference, single step large mutation. Study in the population genetics later brought out some clarity. फिर आता है Hardy-Weinberg principle. So in a given population, one can find out the frequency of the occurrence of the alleles of a gene or a locus. The frequency is supposed to remain fixed and even remain the same throughout the generation. Hardy-Weinberg principle stated it using the algebraic equation. This principle says that the allele frequency in a population are stable and is a constant for the generation to the generation. The gene pool, total genes and their alleles in a population remains constant. This is called as the genetic equilibrium. Sum total of all allelic frequency is 1. Individual frequency, for example, can be named P, Q, etc. In a diploid, P and Q represent the frequency of the allele capital A and the allele small a. The frequency of the capital A individuals in the population is simply P square. This is simply stated in another way that means the probability of that an allele A with the frequency of the small p appear on both the chromosome of a diploid individual is simply the product of the probabilities, that means the P square. Similarly, of the small is Q square, capital A small is the 2pq, hence P square plus 2pq plus Q square is equal to 1. This is binomial expansion of P plus Q the whole square. When frequency measured different from expected value, the difference direction indicates the extent of the evolutionary change. Disturbance in the genetic equilibrium or Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, that means change of the frequency of the allele in a population, would then be interpreted as the resulting in the evolution. 5 factors are known to affect the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. These are the gene migration or the gene flow, genetic drift, mutation, genetic recombination, and the natural selection. When migrations of a sections of the population are to another place and population occur, gene frequency change in the original as well in the new population. New gene alleles are added to the new population and these are lost from the old population. There would be a gene flow if this gene migration happens multiple times. If the same change occurs by chance, it is called a genetic drift. Sometimes the change in the allele frequency is so different in the sample of the population that they become a different species. The original drifted population becomes founders and the effect is called as the founder effect. तो यहाँ पर दिए गए diagrammatic representations of the operations of the natural selection on the different traits of stabilizing, directional and the disruptive. तो ये पहला हो जाता है स्टेबलाइजिंग, दूसरा है डायरेक्शनल और तीसरा है डिसरप्टिव. नेक्स्ट आता है कि microbial experiments show that T-gifting advantageous mutations when selected will result in observations of the new phenotypes. Over new generation, this would result in the speciation. Natural selection is a process in which the heritable variation enabling better survival are enabled to reproduce and leave greater number of the progeny. A critical analysis makes us believe that the variation due to the mutation or the variation due to the recombination during the gametogenesis or due to the gene flow or genetic drift result in the changed frequency of the genes and alleles in the future generation. coupled to enhance the reproductive success, and natural selection make it look like different population. Natural selection can lead to the stabilization in which no more individuals acquire main character value. Directional changes, more individuals acquire value other than the main character value, or the disruption, more individuals acquire peripheral character value at both ends of the distribution curve. फिर आता है ब्रीफ अकाउंट ऑफ द इवोल्यूशन. तो अबाउट 200 million years ago, MYA, the first cellular forms of the life appeared on the Earth. The mechanism of the how non-cellular aggregates of the giant macromolecules could evolve into the cell with the membranous envelope is not known. Some of these cells had the ability to release O2. The reaction could have been similar to the light reaction in the photosynthesis, where water is split with the help of the solar energy captured and channeled by the appropriate light harvesting pigment. Slowly, single-celled organisms become the multicellular life forms. By the time of the 500 million years ago, invertebrates were formed and the active jawless fish probably evolved around 350 million years ago. Seaweeds and the few plants existed probably around 320 million years ago. We are told that the first organisms that invaded the land were plants. They were widespread on the land, and when animals invaded land, fish with the stout and the strong fins could move on the land and go back to the water. This was about 350 million years ago. In the 1938, a fish caught in South Africa happened to be coelacanth, which was thought to be extinct. These animals, called the lobfish fish, evolved into the first amphibians that lived on the both water and the land and the water. There are no specimens of these left with us. However, they are the ancestor of the modern day frogs and the salamanders. The amphibians evolved into the reptiles. They lay thick sled eggs which do not dry up in the sun like those of the amphibians. Again, we only see their modern day in descendants like turtles, tortoises, and the crocodiles. In the next 200 million ago or so, reptiles or different shapes and the fire dominated on the earth. Giant ferns, pteridophytes were present, but they fell onto the form coal deposits slowly. Some of these land reptiles went back into the water to evolve into the fish like the reptiles only 200 million years ago, Ichthyosaurus. The land reptiles were of course the dinosaurs. The biggest of them, Tyrannosaurus rex, was about 20 feet in the height, but had huge fearsome dagger like the teeth. About 55 million years ago, the dinosaurs suddenly disappeared from the earth. We do not know the true reason. Some say climatic change killed them. Some say most of them evolved into the birds. The truth may lie in between. The small-sized reptiles of that era still exist today. The first mammals were like the shrew. Their fossils are small-sized. Mammals were viviparous and protected their unborn young inside the mother's body. Mammals were more intelligent in the sensing and avoiding the dangers, at least. When reptiles came down, mammals took over this earth. They were in the South America mammals, resembling horse, hippopotamus, bear, rabbit, etc. Due to the continental drift, when the South America joined North America, these animals are overridden by the North American fauna. Due to the same continental drift, poached mammals of the Australia survived because of the lack of the competition from any other mammals. Lest we forget, some mammals lie wholly in the water. Whales, dolphins, seals, and the siege cow are some examples. Evolutions of the horse, elephant, dog, etc. are a special story of the evolution. We will learn more about these higher classes. The most successful story is the evolutions of the man with the language, skills, and the self-consciousness. A rough sketch of the evolution of the life forms, their life and the geological skills are indicated. अब यहाँ पर जो है ये जो चीज़ था इससे जो क्वेश्चन पूछे गए थे. पैलियो में आता है कार्बोनिफोरस 2024 में इसे क्वेश्चन आया था. द कार्बोनिफोरस और परमियन. मीजो में आता है ट्राइजिक, जुरासिक और क्रीटेशियस, और इसमें आता है टर्सरी और क्वाटरनरी. फिर इधर अगर देखें पैटर्न तो इसमें आता है टर्टल्स, लिजार्ड्स, स्नेक, टोटोरा, क्रोकोडाइल, बर्ड्स और मैमल्स. फिर अगर देखें यहाँ पर तो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव इवोल्यूशनरी हिस्ट्री ऑफ द वर्टेब्रेट्स टू द जियोलॉजिकल पीरियड. तो अर्ली एक्सटेंट, रेप्टाइल्स एक्सटेंट, फिर आया सौरोप्सिड और साइनेप्सिड. इसके बाद फिर यहाँ पर आता है पाइलेकोफोरस और थिकोडॉन्स, फिर थेराप्सिड्स और डायनासोरस है जो आ जाता है. अब इसका आगे बात करते हैं ऑरिजिन एंड द इवोल्यूशंस ऑफ द मैन. तो अबाउट 50 million years ago, primates called the Dryopithecus and the Ramapithecus were existing. They were hairy and bucket like the gorilla and chimpanzee. Ramapithecus was more man-like and Dryopithecus was more ape-like. Few fossils of the man-like the bones have been discovered in the Ethiopia and the Tanzania. These revealed hominid feature leading to the belief that about 3-4 million years ago, man-like primates walked in eastern Africa. They are probably not taller than the 4 feet but walked upright. 2 million years ago, Australopithecus probably lived in the East African grassland. Evidence for that they hunted the stone weapons but occasionally ate fruit. Some of the bones among the bones discovered were different. This creature was called the first human-like being, the hominid, and was called the Homo habilis. The brain capacity were between the Sarche of 800 cc. Therefore, probably it did not eat meat. Fossils discovered in the Java in 1891 revealed the next stage Homo erectus about 1.5 million years ago. Homo erectus had a large brain around 900 cc. Homo erectus probably ate meat. The Neanderthal man with a brain size of the 1400 lived in and near the east and the Central Asia between the 1 lakh से 40,000 years back. They used hides to protect their body and buried their dead. Homo sapiens arose in Africa and moved across the continents and developed into the distinct races. During the Ice Age, between the 75,000 to 10,000 years ago, modern Homo sapiens arose. Prehistoric cave art developed about 18,000 years ago. One such cave paintings by the prehistoric humans can be seen at the Bhimbetka rock shelters in the Raisan district of the Madhya Pradesh. Agriculture came around 10,000 years back in the human and settlements started. The rest of what happened is a part of the human history of the growth and decline of the civilization. तो यहाँ पर दिखा हुआ है comparison of the skulls, a comparison of the skulls of the adult modern human being, baby chimpanzee and the adult chimpanzee. The skull of the baby chimpanzee is more likely like the adult human skull than the adult chimpanzee skull. फिर इसका समरी में आता है कि the origin of the life on the earth can be understood only against the background of the origin of the universe, especially earth. Most scientists believe chemical evolution, that means the formations of the biomolecules precede the appearance of the first cellular form for the life. The subsequent events to what happened to the first form of the life is conjectured a story based on the Darwinian idea of the organic evolution by the natural selection. Diversity of the life form on the earth has been changing over millions of years. It is generally believed that variations in the population result in the variable fitness. Other phenomena like the habitat fragmentation and the genetic drift may accentuate these variations, leading to the appearance of a new species and hence evolution. Homology is accounted for by the idea of branching descent. A study of the comparative anatomy, fossils, and the comparative biochemistry provides the evidence for the evolution. Among the stories of the evolutions of the individual species, the story of the evolutions of the modern man is the most interesting and appears to parallel evolutions of the human brain and language. तो ये है जो इवोल्यूशन चैप्टर होता है और साथ में यहाँ पर है जो इनसाइटिंग कंप्लीट होता है.